what is important in running a group relations conference? If you say a few words in terms of, so what should a director consider, or what would be your advice for directors of group relations conferences?
Yeah. Well, I think in the first instance, the director needs to have in his or her mind the picture of an organization. We call it a temporary learning organization, okay. But it's an organization with a task, with myths, with culture, and each one will be different. But essentially, the director provides the conditions by appointing staff, by organizing the venue, and inviting people to become members. The director ultimately provides the conditions for learning about systems to take place. But it's not an objective study of a system out there. Essentially, it's a system of which you're a member, or one is a member. So you're in the system and you're caught up or playing a part in the dynamic at the same time. And standing back from the process in order to learn from it is part of this organization's methodology that you're in, one is in.
To be able to do this also.
Yeah, but the director's role is terribly important in facilitating that because of the unconscious tendencies to take flight, to avoid the task, to sabotage and undermine. So a director needs to be very familiar with those processes and also the conceptualization of resistance, unconscious resistance, in group terms. It's not just the individual's resistance, it's how that gets collectivized into a group. So the director would appoint staff who he or she has the confidence in the terms of their training and their experience, their seniority, their wisdom, to work in this way. So for instance, somebody might claim, as we sometimes have here, people saying, I'm experienced in groups, can I join your staff? And of course that's not the same thing as being experienced in Tavistock group relations work. Very different thing. Yeah. So there is a kind of unique approach or philosophy to understanding groups, the relationship between groups, and groups that come together to form systems, subsystems and systems. And there's also the ecology, i.e. that groups exist in an environment, and the impact of the environment will affect the way the groups run, behave, and the way the people inside the groups run and behave. A director therefore needs to be familiar, very familiar, conceptually and experientially, with these five overlapping entities.
Five overlapping entities.
Right. It's the unconscious in the individual, the individual in the group in the system in the organization in the environment.
I see. It's like the Matushka. I see.
Yeah. So a director would need to be. If the director was well trained as a psychoanalyst,
it's not enough,
and had no training in working with groups and organizations, it's not enough. Yeah.
So it's also about complexity as well, right?
Absolutely.
To handle, to experience and to work with it, to contain all this complexity as well.
Indeed. So complexity theory is another branch of knowledge. But there are other theories too. Wave theory, meta-project theory. All of these new ideas and new knowledge the director needs to be familiar with, as well as the staff need to be. But the director needs to have a broader overview, I think, and have a capacity, a personal skill and capacity to take people along, to think in those terms. And we've had staff before who are very good psychoanalysts, but they can't get out of their heads beyond the two-person relationship. So everything, when they describe the small study group, for instance, they'll describe how individual X or individual Y is behaving.
I see.
And they will explain the behavior in terms of that individual's inner world. And they have sometimes, not every.
What did they miss? So what would you expect, or what would be better to?
What I would expect is that the consultant would be able to make connections and links between the individual behavior or comment and the group dynamic.
Okay. So the systemic and the group dynamics in perspective.
Yeah.
To bring it into relationship and to see the dynamics.
So one of the skills of a director would be in appointing the right people.
To the staff.
To the staff. And it's also always a balancing thing too, because you don't want to have staff members who are all senior and all experienced, because you've got to take care of the next generation of incoming new younger people to train them up into consultant roles. So one of the responsibilities of a director is in training and development of the next generation.
So do you have a policy at Tavistock that you say 1 or 2 people have to be new staff members or so?
Yeah, I'm not sure the numbers, but certainly.
So to have this development.
Yeah.
What is the role of the associate director? Do you need one? Can you run a conference without an associate director?
Well, I think I would say you need an associate director. Firstly, if your conference has got subsystems.
Okay.
So you need people to take care of the sub-conferences.
Like A conference, B conference, or the experienced ones.
That's right. They were called A and B at one point, and then they were also called the training. Yeah, but the names have changed. But whatever you call them, they are sub-conferences that need a director. So those directors will be your associate directors.
I see. So 1 or 2, even 2. In Israel we had 2.
Yeah, we've had 3 here.
Yes.
The Leicester conference has been usually on 3 sub-conferences. So A, B, and training. Used to be.
Yeah.
Then it was entering, furthering, and
developing.
Something like that. Yeah. So you had 3. But even if you don't have a structure of sub-conferences, because some years you might have just one total conference. Having an associate director is important, because the director is in a very lonely position, and he or she needs to have conversations and dialogue in a safe place with somebody or a team that could include talking about staff members.
I see.
There might be problems that the director, or challenges that the director is having with one or a group of staff members, which you might expect that to be raised in a staff meeting. But sometimes the director needs a private space also. Consultancy, like you were talking earlier, talking to the chief executive or the chairman of the board.
And it's not the directorate, right, with the administrator, it's something else.
No, it's the directorate.
It is the director.
Yeah, the director, 1, 2, or 3
associate directors?
No, it'll be 2, because the director is also the director of one of the sub-conferences.
Yes.
So it'll be 2 associates, 1 or 2 administrators, a directorate of 5.
5.
Yeah.
They can also talk about the individual staff members, etc.
Yeah. Terribly important to have that space.
So the role of an associate director is to help the director,
Absolutely.
to be a sounding board, or
Yeah.
to have this
To
space
challenge
as well,
to challenge, sure.
but in a constructive way.
Yes,
or-
yeah. If somebody challenges destructively, they're out, in my opinion.
I see.
You know, they won't be invited again. Because you need to be challenged. Why did you do this? Why didn't you say that? Whatever. But it needs to be done constructively.
In order to support development and learning.
Absolutely. I'm not in favor of power games, you know, in which you show off your intelligence. But anyway.
What is the role of the administrator?
The administrator is at the interface between the staff group and the membership group and the hotel.
And the hotel.
So it's a three-way thing.
Okay.
They are terribly important. The role of the administrator is terribly important. It's a boundary role, therefore it captures a lot of projections. People will project from both sides, staff and membership and the hotel. So the administration then forms a subsystem which contains a lot of anguish, anxiety, paranoia, and they actually also then protect the staff group from some of that. So carrying it is part of the role, but they also need help and clarification on what they're experiencing by these projections. Yeah. But a very important part, and sometimes if it's only one person, it can be also quite lonely. And we found having two administrators very powerful, very helpful. Yeah.
To have them as a team in a subsystem.
Yeah, and they contribute to the staff meetings very positively. Very.
So are they full staff members, or as administrator, is it a different role?
Well, it's a different role, but they're fully part of the team. Although they may be called out of meetings because I've got to attend to something on the boundary.
Okay.
So, but the two of them will decide. I'll go, you stay, or whatever. Yeah. So sometimes it's a very quick negotiation that has to happen. But they are full members of the staff group. Yeah. And it's interesting to see how the membership sometimes splits them off into wanting to make them non-staff members. So in a plenary, if an administrator makes an interpretation, the membership gets startled.
Surprised.
Yeah. I thought you just showed me to my room, that's all.
So do you expect, if you have an opening plenary as a director, that each of your staff talks
well, they're free to talk. I wouldn't say I would expect them all to talk, but they're free to talk. Yeah. And over the course of the 2 weeks, because there are a number of plenaries, then if somebody never speaks, I might say to them privately, how do you feel about being in a large group like that? Is it worrying you that somehow you're not speaking in it?
The mentoring approach.
Mentoring is very important. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mannie.
Okay.
Very, very interesting.
Nice to talk about this work to you.
Yes.
You ask the questions very in a way that is engaging.
Thank you very much.